Hey gang, Sean Geek here,
And Fast Fret.
and we have two storefronts. If you are a TeePublic fan, you can browse our inventory over at TeePublic, which is teepublic.com/ Sean Geek Podcast.
Or redbubble.com/people/Sean Geek Podcast.
You can get anything from either storefront, from t-shirts, stickers, phone cases, accessories of all kinds. We're talking masks, notebooks, mugs, pillows, totes, tapestries.
Oh my.
Oh my. Everything's there. Just go to those addresses. Also check the show notes and help support the show. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Uh, Welcome to the Sean and Geek, the Sean Geek and Fast Fret podcast. Done.
Well done. Okay, we're going to use that. So I've been watching more of this Mr. Robot show. I don't know if you've decided to watch it yet or not, but
Mr. Robot. What is the premise of the show?
that was the one where it's about you know Anonymous.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so
No,
it's
I haven't
basically
watched that yet.
it's called Fsociety in this, but the guy wears a mask that is very similar to the mask that Anonymous wears, and it's funny. The production company is called Anonymous Content or something. Like you said, it's produced by Anonymous Content or something like that. It. Oh my God, Todd, I'm on season 2,
I need a piece of paper here. What was it called again?
Mr. Robot.
Right. Mr.
I'm on season
Robot.
2, and I'm like, the fuck's gonna happen now? Like I'm actually like I actually had to stop watching because my heart rate started elevating. I started getting excited, but like anxious. Not excited. I was getting anxious. And I'm like, okay, I got to stop now because I want to know what's going to happen next, but like I'm just too wound up. And then I think even Sylvia was like, "What the fuck's wrong with you?" It's like, "What? F Society? They're making a bid, but now there's a third party." And I was like, oh God, I got all
It really got you into it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I'll
funny.
have to watch a couple episodes and see if we can get into that.
I think you will.
And
I know
and
you
that's a
will.
Netflix?
No, that one's Prime Video.
Right. Okay. It's not one of those Prime Video where you pay for Prime and then you get there and you go
No,
to
no,
watch a
it's
movie
on
and it
the
goes,
actual
oh,
Prime.
well, you have to pay an extra. What was the point?
I'm sure there might be some
Paying for
stupid thing
Prime.
where if you want to watch season 3, you got to subscribe to something else, but I'm not there yet. So,
Okay. So as long as you have Prime Video, you're good.
Yep.
You don't have to buy.
correct.
It's like Costco. Well, I could pay a membership and then I have to pay for the product.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Just a quick update on Netflix.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I've Netflix has changed their, and I'm sure their shareholders will be very happy, and a lot of people are very pissed because anybody who's had Netflix, I've got Mom and Tegan, I had them on kind of my thing because I pay for the premium, and and then you have a bunch of people on it, which is fine because you bought the family. I paid for the most expensive one, right?
Well, yeah, yeah.
But now it's like, oh well, no. Now you have to pay the $20 or whatever it is a
And
month
the
plus
7.99.
another $7.99,
Who knows if that's Canadian dollars? It's probably
and
not
then another
7.99.
$7.99. So it was like you add, a couple people to your thing. But I mean, I'm using Tegan's Amazon one, so we're sharing that. So I got hers, and then Mom's paying for
Okay,
hers. So
so
it's like,
okay,
yeah,
but now what's happening now? Has anyone been told, "Hey, whoa, you're on the wrong IP"?
yeah. Well, the other day it just said, um, you're not the what's the home IP or something
I
or
actually got
whatever it
that. It
is.
actually happened.
Yeah. So both Mom and Tegan both had a thing saying on their Netflix on the screen saying that they were basically couldn't get it anymore for whatever reason, because they're not on the same IP or they're not sharing the same address or something or other. So I had to get two separate accounts added.
But apparently, I don't know if this is true. Did you do it already?
Yeah.
Oh. Somebody said that if you use a Gmail account for your Netflix, I don't know if it works or not. I haven't tried it. But I do.
If there's a loophole, they'll squash it.
Yeah, that's true. I do everything through Hotmail because that's my garbage email. I use my garbage email for things.
But I mean, I've got IPTV. If I wanted Netflix, whatever's on Netflix, I can get it on IPTV. It's just more convenient. Plus, it keeps, if I'm on season 3, episode 4, I log back in, then I can continue on, right? So I don't have to go back, and then it's like, well, what season were we on? Oh, what episode were we on? That's the whole problem.
I didn't realize that was a problem with IPTV. I thought it would remember.
No. Well, at least not the version I have.
Well, shit, that's
but
that's a big turnoff right there.
There is a section where if say there's a new show that came out, say there's a like we watch Your Honor, that show. So there's one section where you go on there and it'll show this show was uploaded yesterday. So say it was this week's episode, it was uploaded. It's on the kind of the home screen of where all those shows are on. And then I can go, oh, well, this is the new one. So we can watch it straight from here. So you click on it, open it up and whatnot. And the thing is with these Fire Sticks, the remotes don't work properly. Because there's one, like if you want to search programs, you have to go into the, was it YouTube and look up, how to configure your buttons and stuff. Whereas actually no one's ever really talked about it, but there's Fire TV that you can download to your phone and use your phone as the actual remote instead of the Fire Stick one.
Actually, I had set that up on my phone actually.
Because fast forwarding and rewinding on the Fire Stick remote, because I had them set up so that I could do searches, I could make favorites, but there's only so many buttons, right, that you can use for it. And it says there's the buttons that have colors mean certain things. So I'm sure there's other remotes you can probably use to use the colors. I tried to, it didn't work out for me. I guess I didn't research it enough, but I figured if I have it on my phone, easy peasy. I just load it up, it finds it, and then I can kind of fast forward or rewind or pause or whatnot. Because that was the biggest thing, right? You watch a show and it's like, well, we got halfway through it, and then I don't want to watch it right from the beginning again. So then I just
so you'd have to fast forward to try to find out where you had left off.
Use my app to do it because my remote was already configured, differently. So
gotcha.
Yeah, but you know what? As technology goes on, something's going to come out that's going to be even better.
Yep.
And I'm sure, it's crazy because when you go to either MTS or Shaw or whatever cable service that anybody goes with, they charge so much just for the basic stuff. It's ridiculous. It's like, why do you have to charge so much?
Well, I mean, they're paying for a lot of content, right? Like none of that shit's free.
Well, it's like Netflix. I mean, you were making money before and you're having programs put on. What's the greediness?
Well,
like,
hang on.
I mean, a lot of people are home.
There's also something with Netflix because Netflix has always been borderline on the verge of bankruptcy from the sounds of things. They have great earnings, but then they spend a lot of their money again. So, for example, like I know people that have worked on Netflix shows, right? And those companies get paid very well to create content, like very well. So they're not underpaying the creators. They're actually one of the few places where they're actually paying the creators well. Now, the creator, they're paying the company that creates, but maybe the company that's creating is not paying their employees well. I don't know. That's none of my business, but they do give a lot of money out. They do give a lot of money to Canadian production companies to make stuff, to create content. Like they're constantly like on the edge of not making money because they're always spending so much money expanding their content, bringing new shows. Sometimes they'll cut a show, after a couple of seasons because it's not quite doing as well as they wanted. But they always have to be careful because it's like they're spending so much fucking money. Like, and the thing is, like Disney's doing really well, right, with their streaming service, but they're putting shit out in movies. They're making $1 billion at the box office, and then they put it on Disney Plus. They're not Disney Plus as an entity is not paying for that content.
Right.
They're just getting the free shit where they already made $1 billion off of, and now they're going to make some more money on their subscriptions. Netflix is making all their money off of the subscriptions. So should they be the most expensive out there for the amount of content, original content that they create, instead of just, oh, I'm buying this show off of ABC. I'm buying this show off of
well, how many times have they upped their prices? Like it was like $5.99, $6.99, $7.99.
Yeah.
Now it's like 10 something.
But they've also every time they've done that, they've also expanded their catalog dramatically. Like nobody puts out more content than Netflix. Now, is it all good content? Well, that's debatable.
Well, if that's the case, why do they keep taking content off? It's like, oh, this was there. Oh, we're getting rid of that. Well, what is server space that damn expensive? I can buy a terabyte of whatever, and it's pennies. Like, why?
I know
it shouldn't be that way. Keep what you have.
If it's original content, yeah, for sure. But if it's someone else's content or they leased it.
Oh, okay. If they lease it and it goes below a certain amount of viewage, yeah, it's no good.
Yeah. So I mean, look, I can save 50 grand a year or 100 grand a year, whatever they're paying. I don't know if they're paying. Well, let's just say they're paying 50 grand a year for this show, whatever the show is, right?
Right.
And it's not original content. It's a company that made a show and now they're leasing it to show it on their network. So, for example, a Sony movie or a Paramount movie or whatever, Lord of the Rings or whatever. Like Lord of the Rings is now all on Prime, but I believe at one time they're all on Netflix, right?
Same as Crave, I guess. They've got their own content, and everyone else. I mean, you're not going to have interchangeable. I'm sure
nowhere near as much content, right? They license more on Crave.
I can't see Crave saying, okay, well, we're going to have a Netflix show on ours, and then Netflix is going to have a Crave show on theirs. Yeah. It'd be like Sony having Disney or Disney, so like just kind of going back and forth. There should be, I mean, it's like the video game thing that we talked about. There should be one head of something that they all have, say, a seat at, almost like a government, almost saying, okay, well, we have representatives from all these different places, and we all have a seat at this whatever corporation or whatever they've created, and said, okay, well, now we're going to share everything together somehow. But I mean, that would take a lot of planning. It would take a lot of, and it's like, well, this one has more content than this one. Well, this one should be paid more than this one, and then there'd be a bunch of infighting. And but then again, then there's always the number one thing is money. Yeah. Money makes the world go round, whether you like it or not, whether you think it does or not. It doesn't matter. Everything's money. They turn TV on, it's money. It doesn't matter what you're watching, whether it's a commercial, whether it's a show. It's all money generated, forwarded, created for commercials.
And my company wants to make more money than your company, so we're never going to work together.
Well, especially if they're competing, but not like your KFC and Taco Bell that they got together. Yep. And now you go to the drive-through, you can order either one. So someone was able to say, you know what, let's put our heads together and let's do something.
But did one company buy the other company, though? I wonder. Was it a merger? Like an actual, because is a merger ever actually a proper? Is a merger ever just a merger, or is it? Yeah, but my company controls yours. Like I bet you there's never been a merger.
Yeah, or they buy them out just to dismantle them to just get rid of one more. It's like Facebook. If some other company comes up and says, "Oh, we're going to start this other thing," we're going to pay you X amount of dollars to go away. Their competition is gone.
Okay,
You
I'm
don't have to
I'm
worry
going to
about
give you an example that's very interesting. Is God damn it, we keep talking about Tooge, but his company AEW, they when they started, their plan was we're going to have our in-house people, like our in-house wrestlers, right? We're going to, develop our own talent, but they're also working with independents, so independent wrestlers that wrestle on the indie scene, and they bring those guys in, but they don't work for AEW. They're getting paid to be on AEW, but they don't work for AEW.
So they're free agents.
Free agents, yeah.
It's like, we don't own you. You didn't sign a contract. Say, oh, well, you can't work for any other company. It's like, okay, you're a freelancer. You can, work here. This is what we're offering.
But here's the other thing they did too. They did a pay-per-view with New Japan Wrestling. And New Japan Wrestling is huge. Like, they're a huge company. They're in Japan and they're huge,
Okay.
right?
That's the
They're
gory
not as
stuff.
big on this side of the water, but they're huge, right? And they're getting bigger in North America all the time. Like, there's more people, doing pay-per-views and stuff, like watching their pay-per-views and stuff. So AEW decides, hey, let's do a co-promotion with New Japan. That's like crazy. So not only are they working with free agents, they're working with New Japan Wrestling. They did a thing with Impact Wrestling, which is another wrestling company. They did something with them.
Right.
So everyone's always like, well, when are you guys going to do something with WWE? But WWE is one of those companies that's like, fuck you all. I'm not going to work with anyone.
Well, that's the thing. If they want to work with them, then that's great. But if they just decide that that's not their thing, they're not going to do it. It's like, why would we bother?
Yep.
Then they won't.
And the other
I mean,
example,
that's their prerogative. But I mean,
the other example
losing out.
I'll give you is, I don't know if you're aware of this, but DC Comics and Marvel Comics did multiple joint ventures together. And they're the one and two, and they've, one company, Marvel's number one and then DC's number one. Like, they're always head to head. But I mean, they've shared creators. They have creators that work at both companies. And they've done crossover events. So everyone's like, well, is there ever going to be a crossover event on the movie side of things? Superman with Spider-Man on the big screen. And I would love to see something like that. But the problem is, those two comic companies know that for the greater good, if we do a comic together, we're all going to make money.
Right.
Like, they realize that, and they negotiate and figure out how they're going to do that. And those comics are fucking great. Like, I own probably all of them, if not most of them, right?
Right.
But the movie heads, so Marvel Studios and DC Studios, are they ever going to merge and have a Superman and Spider-Man movie? Fuck no.
Ooh, why wouldn't they?
They should.
Yeah.
Because
someone needs
how
to put
much
a bug in their ear.
Okay, so for example, a Spider-Man movie can make $1 billion, right?
Mm-hmm.
DC can't quite crack that $1 billion mark, but they made $1 billion with the Joker movie, right?
Right.
It would raise their IP if they did something like this. And the thing is, Kevin Feige, who runs Marvel Studios, very brilliant mind. I can't see him being in any way being against the idea. But DC Studios, which is always in some crazy stupid flux, would never do it, because the money men, the people behind the scenes, they're never gonna. Oh, that's conceding something. We're conceding our IP to theirs. We're like, they don't see the big picture. They see the small picture. And that, unfortunately, that companies that don't decide to cross promote and actually do a proper thing together, like, you're not seeing the big picture. You're actually seeing the very small picture. But if you put Spider-Man and Superman in a fucking movie together, how could that movie not make $2 billion? And what if they actually wrote a good script? It'd make $2 billion without a good script. Probably.
Well, if you had Hasbro and Mattel and they decided to get together and make a toy, or you went to the three big companies, Ford, GM and Chrysler.
Yeah.
And you went, okay, let's collaborate on a vehicle. Do you think that would ever work? It's kind of like in that realm going, okay, well, we're the big guys. Everyone else is our competition. But if we let some of the competition in, then we're kind of giving them some of our secrets or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
But I mean, I'm sure people have bounced from one company to another, and then they all have to sign this thing saying, you can't share information that you've gotten from this other company. But if you said, okay, well, GM is known for this. This is their thing. Like if out of a vehicle, this you never have to worry about. And say Chrysler, you know what, this is their big thing. You never have to worry about that. Ford, same thing. Let's get together, the Brooklyn or Bricklin or whatever it was called, that was it Hatfield? had the car.
The car?
New Brunswick.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Richard,
yeah.
Is it Richard Hadfield? I don't know. They created this vehicle. I think it was the Bricklin.
Okay.
And it had those seagull type side doors that opened up.
Yep.
Okay. And I think it was made by off the shelf parts. Like you could buy the parts like it was a GM part or whatever, off the shelf, and you could build this thing. I mean, it was a piece of crap in the end, because I don't think, I think there was some, I don't know if it was a Netflix thing or just something, a show that was on it, and it showed all the issues that it had. But I mean, the actual idea itself of using off the shelf parts to build a vehicle, like, do you have copyright for that? Like music you can't use, like, I'm going to use 10 seconds of this song. Well, you can't, because it's we wrote that and that's ours and whatnot. But if I say, if I go to Part Source or one of these Canadian Tire or whatever and say, okay, well, I want to order X and X and X amount of parts, because I mean, it's not just GM that makes a part. It's not just Ford or Chrysler. It's all aftermarket parts. So if you took all these aftermarket parts that were of the same quality or better than the original in mass quantities, had a shop and said, okay, we're going to design a vehicle and we're going to use all the parts from, say, this year or next year or whatnot, or we'll just pick a year. Like a good year vehicles was, say, 20. We'll say 2020 or something. We'll say we'll take part out of this. The motor out of here, the suspension out of here, the sound system out of this system, whatever, and build this vehicle. I guess that would be third party.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't really help the big companies. But if the big companies ever got together and did that on their own, or someone actually pitched it,
that's very
would that actually work? But I mean, that's everyone else. But it's like a monopoly. Everyone wants the monopoly, right? They want to get rid of the competition because they want to be the sole source of whatever it is that you're buying.
Mm-hmm.
So Fire Stick will take for example. Well, there's the Fire Stick. There's Android has a whole bunch of different versions of, the operating system itself, but they have their own.
So there's
type of boxes that they use, right?
Can you get a non-Fire Stick that's a Fire Stick? I mean, like, not made by Fire Stick?
Well, I think they're all Android based, I believe. Okay. I'm not 100% sure, but I think Fire Stick is somewhat. I mean, when you run an Android system like your phone, or if you're running a computer and you use Fraps or one of those programs that kind of emulates it to put on your computer, so you can download stuff.
You have your own Fire Stick.
Yeah, I mean, you could build your own if you wanted to, but
because they always have proprietary stuff, right? Like there's this whole thing with proprietary, like with Apple, everything's proprietary, everything's Apple. You have to buy an Apple this to make your Apple do that. Like you can't buy something and plug it into your Apple phone. It ain't gonna work.
I compare Betamax with Apple. Apple's trying to just say, you know what? God. No one can use this but us. This is our thing. We're not sharing the technology. We're not sharing the patent. We're not doing any of that.
It is the superior phone. Yes. It is the superior product. Yes. Beta was, right? But people are like, we're not going to pay double for something that, works almost not quite as good, but still works.
Well, not everybody's a tinkerer. So it's like a vehicle. I mean, get in, put the key, turn it on, you get from point A to point B. I don't have to worry about what's this oil thing?
Is that the
What's
Apple?
this
Is this the
maintenance?
analogy to Apple then?
Well,
Because with Apple,
Apple
it's
is pretty
that way,
much
right?
get in, drive, don't worry about anything.
Yeah,
Whereas if you go
true.
to Android or any other, type of phone, there's more, you can tinker more with it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like people who build their computers versus
Versus,
buy one that's all in one,
or
right?
consoles, right? Like
Yeah,
a
I mean,
console gaming versus PC gaming. With PC gaming, you're constantly going to be tinkering and upgrading this and upgrading that. And with the console is the console. You don't change it.
yeah, it is what it is, and that's it.
Mhm.
But if you're a tinkerer and you want to be able to modify, then you go with the other version, right?
So how come I don't have an Apple? I don't have Apple products because it sounds like I like with the console side of things. I don't want. I've thought about this before, and I'm like, oh, I should get a gaming computer, and I'm like, oh, it's so expensive, but it'll last me forever, and da, 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 and I can do anything, and it's amazing, and all this, and then I'm like, oh, but I don't want to fucking tinker. Like, I don't want to. Oh, I got to replace my video card now, or I go, oh, I gotta, I just rather buy, I'd rather wait 5 or 6 years and then buy a new console for a quarter of the price every 6 or 7 years. Like, or well, I don't know. With me, it's every 10 years, I guess, but like
Well,
that's the way I am. So I guess I would be an Apple person. However, the only thing with Apple is Apple, even though they seem to work that way, you always have to buy a new Apple. Like there's always a new Apple. There's a new phone out every 6 months with Apple. Is that where they're at now?
I don't know. At one point, I think they were getting charged or being questioned on things being throttled back or
Mm-hmm.
running slower with the new updates and stuff.
Yep.
It's like,
Yep.
well, at a certain point, you need to upgrade. Why? Why do you need to update it? I mean, it worked fine. I don't need all these other updates to use my phone. But now it's virtually you can't use it because it's so bogged down with stuff. It's like a computer. I mean, you buy a computer. At one point, like when you put an antivirus on it, would slow it down to the point where it was like molasses, right? So it was like some people were kind of disabling it just so they could, do what they needed to do. But nowadays, I mean, even off the shelf, all-in-one units are still more powerful than, something that you would have bought, 5, 6 years ago that was, high end. So, I mean, it keeps evolving. But if you have one computer at home that you use and for gaming, if someone else wants to use it for something else, I mean, you're hooped. So, I mean, unless you have one dedicated
Yeah.
for gaming, then you're good.
Yeah.
But like you said, you plug and play. I want to play, wrestling or something on your PS3 or your Xbox or whatever gaming system you have. You go up to it, turn it on, turn the TV on, away you go, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No fuss, no
I
muss.
like that.
But if you're a tinkerer, and you have a PC and you want to say, well, you know what, there's this game out, but I don't know if I really want to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
You can, I mean, there's so many, torrents and things out there that are, whether they're legal or not, I'm not too sure. They're probably not. But you can always try the game. It's not something you could play online because just of the way that, they try and hack into it type thing to use. So if you try it and say, you know what, this is a good game, I'll pay for it. And I've done that. I mean, I've Grand Theft Auto 5. I mean,
Yep.
I've paid for the full version. Hitman 2, I paid for that whole version. I paid for was that State of Decay 2.
Mm.
I'm waiting for the 3 to come out. I'm hoping that comes out soon.
Yeah. I think it might just be you and I playing that one from the
Yeah.
sound of
So
things.
yeah, so I mean, and other games too I've bought, and if it's something, whether it's Medal of Honor or Call of Duty or whatever, if I know if I'm going to play it, then I'll pay for it. But if it's something I'm not 100% sure, like, and they're not cheap.
No.
I mean, they're 60, $70 now. I think at one time they were what, 20, 30, 40, like
Yep.
just kind of, as time goes on, everything goes up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people's purses are getting, smaller and smaller now, just with everything going up. And the game prices aren't going down. So it's like, what, you got to kind of stretch your dollar. So you want to make sure that if you're going to buy something, you're actually going to play it.
Yeah.
So to me, that's kind of the difference where, I mean, if and you with the Xbox, you said you there's a membership that you can buy and you can play so many different games, right?
Yep.
You don't have to play one game. It's like you've got this whole array that you can try and you can play,
That.
which is a good option.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't have that for PC. I mean,
They don't. Well, no, they they
No,
do.
no, they do, because Xbox, I know that they've asked me to join the same thing that you're on,
Yep.
where I'd have access to all these
Yes.
games.
Yep.
Yeah, which is a good idea. But I don't, I like, there's a few games that I like to play. I mean, if it's someone who's, younger and is all over the place with the gaming and they want to try everything, every new thing that's come out, that's great. But for someone who me that's like, you know what, I like this type of game and this type of game and they don't come out that often, then I'll just stick with, just buying the ones I want.
Yeah, like I'm a sampler. Like I do the same thing with everything. Like with comic books, I started doing that because I used to just like if something looked good comic book, I just buy it. But I've got uh, so many books in my collection. Like I gotta somehow downsize. Like I gotta maybe sell off some of my collection because there's so much in my collection I've read once and I'll never read again. I got lots of that. Too much
Right.
of that. There's certain series though, like I've read them like 20 times, you know. So I think I really need to but anyway, so there's a place I go to where you can actually read the comics online, and if I like it, I go buy it. You know, like okay, this is good, I'll buy it. And then some stuff I may buy as comic book and then buy it later as a trade, like when they assemble the entire run. But like I like to sample, like especially with games too, like with the Game Pass is great. We actually talked about because with this Netflix thing, we were like, okay, well let's look at what we're doing. Let's look if we need to get rid of certain things. We talked about the option of getting rid of Disney
Right.
because the thing with Disney, it's like, hey, great, now everything's all in one place. All these Marvel movies are all here. All these cartoons are here, and I'm like, then I go downstairs and I go into our DVD library. And I'm like, okay, well, I own this movie and this movie and this movie, and with the Marvel movies, the ones that I really really like, I do own them all. I usually have like the Marvel movies that we like when they come out. We usually buy a DVD, the DVD, Blu-ray, digital copy. So for $26, you get all three.
Right.
So with the DVD, we bring the DVD up to Lactabani so we can watch it up there.
Mm-hmm.
The Blu-ray we keep here as a backup. And then we have the digital copy, which is on my YouTube. So if I go to YouTube, I've got a bunch of digital movies. So whatever happens when Disney says, you know what, like we don't have a contract with that studio anymore, or we don't want to promote this movie anymore, or we're going to create an alternate version of this movie, I still have the original in three different formats. I still
Right.
own the movie. But if you're getting it on a digital streaming service, you're not owning the movie, and they can change the content at any time and pull stuff,
Hmm.
which makes me nervous. It's like, well, but like if you bought a digital copy of something, I don't trust the process. But if I bought a digital copy of, for example, here's a good example. I buy a digital copy of Pump Up the Volume, the film, 20 years ago or 10 years ago. I buy the digital copy and I buy it through Apple or Microsoft or whatever. And then later they're like, yeah, we're not going to support this movie anymore. We don't have an agreement with that studio anymore. So you bought the movie, but you didn't buy it. You bought the option of watching it whenever you want. But we don't have a contract with whatever it was, 20th Century Fox or whoever the hell it is. So it's not going to be. I know you watch it through YouTube or whatever, but we don't have a contract anymore with them. So you can't watch it on YouTube anymore, or you can't watch it on if you bought it through Amazon, for example, because you can buy movies through Amazon too, right? Digital movies. But suddenly they don't have a contract with that studio. Can you still watch the movie you bought?
Well, you
It's
paid
still
for it. You
there.
should be able to still.
Yeah, but I don't think it works that way.
That's
That's why
muddy
that,
waters there.
that's why I buy like when we buy if there's a movie I like, I still buy it. I know it sounds old school, but hear me out. I've got it in three formats. So let's say the Blu-ray version, or let's say the digital version. I bought the digital version, but the digital version is no longer going to be supported on where I have it, which is YouTube. Now, YouTube's probably the safest, but originally you had the option. They would give you the option of, okay, we're giving you a free digital version of this movie because you bought the expanded edition. Where do you want to put it? Do you want to put it on YouTube, or do you want to put it on your iTunes or whatever the Apple one's called? And you pick the one you want to have it on, and then it's there permanently. But some movies, when you buy a digital version, and this came up before, oh, it's got a digital version of the movie. Awesome. Perfect. I am going somewhere with this, Todd. Trust me. Hang on. So Hunger Games I bought, right? Because I loved Hunger Games, but I specifically bought the version that had a digital version. Because I really like the Hunger Games. I like the books. I like the movies. I think they're all great. Also did the same thing with some Sony films. I really love the movies. Saw it in the theater. I buy the trifecta, the Blu-ray, DVD, digital, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to go to redeem.com, blah, 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 blah. You type it in, and it says, put in the code that came with your thing for the digital download code, right? And you type the digital code in, and then it says, okay, where do you want your digital copy to be? It doesn't have YouTube. It doesn't have Apple. It's only available on We Bring the Movies app. The only place you can watch it is on We Bring the Movies app. I'm making shit up. But you don't
Okay.
but usually in the old days they would give you options. Which streaming place do you want to have your digital copy? Because you don't actually
Popular.
get it. You don't get an MP4 and you keep it on your computer. No, it's stored on a cloud, and you decide which cloud it's going to go on. So when I bought Hunger Games and when I bought the Spider-Man films, because the Spider-Man films are Sony films, even though they're Marvel and they should be with Disney, they're not, right? So it gives me the option. It doesn't give me the option of YouTube, so I can't put it there. I can't put it on iTunes. I have to put it over here. And I'm like, I don't have the app. I don't use this app.
Right.
So then I look it up. Only available in the USA.
They allowed you to buy it though.
So, yeah. So it's like, okay, I want my money back. So I actually brought the movie back. Like I've done this a few times. Like I brought the movie back. It's like, look, this says, oh, well, yeah, but I paid $2 more to get the digital, like to get all three, right? You can either buy the Blu-ray or you can buy the three pack, the three combo. So, but there's other ones where it said, okay, well, it's got to be on this app. So I'm like, fuck you. So I download the app. Now I've got my movies. All my digital movies are all on YouTube, all on my private YouTube place. I can watch all my digital movies there. I want them all in one place. If I'm going to watch a digital movie that I purchased, I know I can just open up my YouTube. And YouTube's everywhere. It's on my Xbox, it's on my phone, it's on my tablet, it's on my computer, it's everywhere. I can watch a digital movie literally from anywhere, right? I'll want it in one central location, except for this one movie, which now has to be on this other app. Oh, the other app is only available, you can only stream on your PC. They don't have an app for your phone. They don't have an app for your tablet. They don't have an app for your Xbox. They don't have an app for your PS. They don't have an app. So the only place you can watch it is on your laptop. Well, now if I want to watch this digital movie, I have to make sure my laptop is with me. So anyway, so I'm like, fine. I didn't want to lose the digital copy. I downloaded it on welovemovies.com. I'm making that up.
Okay.
And it's like, okay, it's on there. Then what happens is I get a letter because I had to create a membership. They had to give them my fucking email. I had to create a password, all this bullshit, right? Then I get a letter 2 years later.
2 years later.
2 years later.
Okay.
I get an email because I had a membership, right? They emailed everybody. Unfortunately, we are going to have to shut our services down. You can transfer your content to YouTube.
Wow.
They give you the ability to convert it and send it over to YouTube. So I'm glad I downloaded the app in order, because there's an expiry, right? If you don't collect your digital code in time, you don't
Right.
get the digital copy, right? It's on
Server
you
gets
when you
wiped
buy
and used for
something.
something else.
This has happened twice. So there's two studios that refuse to work with the big boys, right?
Hmm.
And I understand that too. Like they're independent films, they don't want to be associated with Microsoft, and they don't want to be associated with Steve Jobs, right? They don't want to be associated with either. So they've got their own thing, they've got their own app, and you can watch our movies on our app. We don't want to be associated with those two guys because if we're going to put a digital code on Microsoft or on YouTube, right?
Hmm.
And okay, well, they want to cut, their cut's too high. We're a small indie studio, we don't make enough money. iTunes, the cut they want is 15% higher than those guys. They don't want to have it on those streaming services. I understand. I understand where they're coming from. They don't want to deal with the big boys. And I say big boys because predominantly men, I guess. I don't know, whatever. But anyway, but what do you do if you're a small indie company that made a movie, the movie hit big, and now you want to offer a digital version? What do? You have to go to bed with Microsoft, you have to go to bed with Apple for the digital content, or are you just going to have it available from your website or from whatever? Like, what do you do in that situation?
Hmm.
And in the end, these studios fold because there's such a monopoly in Hollywood. There's only a few studios that run everything. It's hard for the little indies to do anything. It's like, well, now you got to play ball. So originally I was complaining that I
Well,
just want to put it on my fucking YouTube. Yeah, but we don't want to give 75% of our profits to YouTube. We'd rather keep it ourselves and keep 100% of our profits in our little independent studio, other than giving you the option of watching it on YouTube. And I understand that. I understand it now. I didn't understand it back then, but I would get pissed off. But then when I got that letter saying, we're closing shops, we're not profitable, and then the whole film studio died. So like the movie company died. They created an app to watch this shit on. That died. And now it's all
no,
going to YouTube anyway. It's like, they had a fire sale and okay, well, you can watch it on YouTube. YouTube, bought it for nothing.
okay. Well, now looping back to Netflix, would this not be something instead of going to MGM or Fox or all these big movie studios? Would it have not have been better off to go to maybe a Netflix or an Amazon or something to say that, okay, well, but then again, I don't know how much they charge for their content.
I
So
don't know.
they signed something like you're saying, like whatever licenses, they'll say, well, we want 20% or 30 or whatever
Yeah, yeah.
percentage that they're wanting.
Mm-hmm.
How much is Netflix asking for? How much is Amazon? How much is Disney? How much is all these other platforms that have been growing? Because there is so many indie companies out there. I mean, that's a perfect platform for them,
Right.
right? Because I
Um,
mean, Netflix is looking for content, and people have content they're looking to sell. So,
that's a good question. That's a really good question. I wish we could talk to somebody about this.
well, let's get a hold of the big guy from Netflix. We'll get all these questions answered. We'll have them on. We'll have them on as a guest,
We
and
were trying to find a good subject to have Michael Petro on about. I think that would be interesting.
yeah,
Now,
and
if
then
we remember
have a
what the
Twitter
subject
poll.
was.
Have a Twitter poll with all the questions that people want to answer,
Hmm.
and then ask the questions.
So I'm going to, if I remember, I'll remember it during editing. I'm going to watermark or earmark or whatever this section. I'm going to send it to Michael and say, Mike, can you come on and talk about this? Because he does have a far better understanding of this shit. And
And
when I was
shed some light on it.
trying to find a
Yeah,
good, thing a thing to talk about with him,
that'd
I
be
think
perfect.
this would be a perfect topic
That
because
would be perfect. Yes,
yeah.
definitely.
Okay, good. There's a topic. We just have to remember to ask him. And we should cap it off there. I want to go have breakfast and coffee. I haven't done that yet. And then I
Okay.
guess we're leaving soonish and we're going to go see our mother today.
Yeah. Yes.
There was cars in the ditch when I took the dog for a walk this morning.
Oh,
Yeah.
I like my truck. I think it should be okay.
Oh, yeah. Just This person had a truck too. Well, not a
Oh,
truck, but like a massive SUV, right?
okay.
And they hit a light standard.
Oh,
So I'm like,
drive slow.
just I don't know. Some people like there's a sense of invulnerability, right? Like, oh, I've got a big vehicle, I'm fine. Like, yeah, but you can still like as big a vehicle as you have, if you're driving like an idiot, like it doesn't give you the ability to drive like an idiot.
No.
It protects you from injury, but you could still,
Well,
like,
yeah, I guess it just depends. Get going is a lot easier in four-wheel drive, but
yeah.
stopping, I don't think is really any different than any of the vehicle.
I mean, this, hey folks, snow is slippery. I don't know if you know that or not. Doesn't matter, like you got winter tires, it helps you. But if you're on like today, it's compacted snow on top of ice. So let's say your tire grips on the snow and it's got a good grip on the snow and it's not going to slip on the snow. That snow that it's gripping to is on top of ice, and that's still going to slide on the ice. So
Yeah. If anybody's ever, back in the day when we were younger and used to have, we call it les bottines, which are like steel-toed shoes with no grips at all at the bottom.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And you had some ice, you threw some powdered snow on that and you could slide. That's what you used to slide.
Well, yeah,
So
yeah.
use the same kind of analogy, with your tires. I mean, some are grippy, some aren't as much, depending on what you have, but usually these intersections, that's where everyone stops. That's where everyone slides, and it just becomes a glare of ice. So now all of a sudden, when you're coming up to the
nice
lights,
coating of snow right on top.
yeah, when you come up to the lights, I mean, you have to, think about stopping way back, not when you get to the lights, because then you could end up, shaking hands with the guy in front of you.
There's something that cars can do nowadays. You can actually lift your foot off the gas pedal, and you actually slow down.
Oh.
You don't actually have to. You don't actually have to hit you don't have to go to your gas and then immediately hit your brake to stop. You can actually slow down and then hit your brake.
Yeah.
And it's this crazy concept that cars do nowadays. I don't know if anyone's heard about it, but
just like signal lights, same idea.
Yeah,
they're there to use people.
What's that? What's that technology, Todd? I'm not familiar.
Blinkers? Oh, when you're telling someone whether you're turning right or left, or someone just cuts
Those
you
come
off.
with cars nowadays.
Yeah, they just decide to cut you off and figured, you know what? Yeah.
Is that like saying cell phones? Hey, you can call people on there, right? No, you can't.
It's like giving a young person an actual regular phone from back in the day with the dial.
Yep.
Okay, and then they're looking for the screen. How do I FaceTime on this thing? No.
Oh God.
Yeah.
There, Tabernakosti. That's how we end it. Or I thought we could end the shows with this. I'll probably have to let these guys know that we're doing this, but this is we'll do our socials, but this is a good way to end the show. Please excuse me. Thank you very much. You're welcome. Where can you find our show, Todd?
You can find it at SeanMcGinnity.ca. That's SeanMcGinnity.ca.
And all socials at Sean Geek Podcast.